Two Rockford parents appear in a Winnebago County courtroom. They will on May 1st in the death of their teen son late December of 2024.
45-year-old Chad Chavez and 44-year-old Anna Benavidez faced child endangerment, resulting in death charges. On December 14th last year, Rockford police responded to the 1400 block of 4th Avenue. Officers say they found a 16-year-old boy who was unconscious from an overdose. He was taken to a nearby hospital where he would later die. Investigators say the teen died of a narcotic overdose, which led to the arrest of Chavez and Benavidez.